to the Pursuit of Growth show, where we hold candid conversations with fascinating individuals from all walks of life. We learn about their passions, their successes and failures, and their lessons learned, and how they apply personal growth to their lives. We wrap up this conversation with key takeaways that everyone can implement to better ourselves and the lives of everyone else around us. As always, I'm joined by my co-host and great friend, Greg Brinkley. Greg, how are you doing today, man?
Man, Sammy, I'm doing fantastic, and I'm super excited for our guest that we have on the show today, Rocky Turner, known to the world as Rock T. Rock, how you doing, man?
What's going on, my brothers? Everything is good, man. I'm so honored to be a part of it, man. So thank you for allowing me to share your space today.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to read your bio, Rocky, because this is just, you talk about someone that checks a lot of really interesting boxes that I think people are going to really enjoy listening about your story. But former pro baseball player Rocky Turner, known to the world as Rock T, and current member of the Rickey Smiley morning radio show, Rock T reaches 7 million listeners daily. You've seen him on the popular TV show This Nation. Rock T has added to his entertainment career by building a remarkable brand and legacy. He is the founder and creator of STOMP WARS Global, the most successful stomping competition and movement in the world, which now serves as a life-transforming college and career pathway for students and young adults. We could stop there, but Rock T also produces the popular Rock T radio DJ mixes, which currently air over 50 markets nationwide and is a feature on the Rickey Smiley Weekend Jump Off. Not to mention, he is also co-host of the Perfect Pair podcast with his wife, KRYSTAL. Rock T has found success and built a brand on not making excuses and getting things done despite obstacles. He now takes his powerful no excuses, get it done message to universities, nonprofits, and Fortune 500 companies, including McDonald's, AT&T, Southwest Airlines, and the NFL, to just name a few. A passion for giving back has led Rock T to create his 501c3 Mentorship Program and youth-driven initiative, the ROCKTEEN Youth Foundation. He is a winner of multiple community service awards from many of America's most respected organizations, including the Boys and Girls Club of America, Coca-Cola, and Ford. With all of this, Rock T's greatest passion of all is his family, and his wife, KRYSTAL, are the proud parents of 2 daughters and a son. I got to take a breath. That is one heck of an overview. Rock, again, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I got to take you on the road with me, man. That's a nice little lead in right there.
I tell you what, if you're looking for a hype man or somebody to come and introduce you, you let me know.
Let's go, baby.
And that's the thing. Like, you know, you've got all these accomplishments, all these accolades, and you don't look a day over 18. That's the thing.
Hey, slow down. Water. Drink more water.
There you go. There you go.
Well, we'll get into water in a second, Rock. But first question for you, we're going to jump right in. You were a professional baseball player who, of course, we've just read your bios, turned into a radio personality and much, much more. When I read that your career as a baseball player ended, that's when you set your eyes on becoming a radio DJ. I also read that you were rejected 5 times, but you finally made the station an offer they could not refuse. Please tell us about your attempts at breaking into radio and what was the offer that you made?
Wow. So how much time do we have? Because this can get long.
We got as much time as you need. Let's jump into it.
Okay. So I was that 10-year-old little boy that when you asked the question, what is it that you want to be when you grow up? I had 2 dreams. I wanted to be a professional baseball player and I wanted to be a radio TV DJ. I mean, that was it. Those were my 2 goals. I've always wanted to be that. So when I had the opportunity to shift into my second career, which was radio, I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the #1 radio station in Dallas, Fort Worth at the time, and I'm going to apply for a job. And everybody in radio for that moment that I had learned about, they was always telling me, hey, Rock, you're not going to get your first radio gig in a top 10 market your first time out. Go to a smaller city, learn the ropes, then you can come back to a bigger city and kind of keep on going. And I said, well, that's your dream. Yeah. My dream is I'm going to the best. If I want to be the best, I want to learn from the best. So I'm going to the top radio station. All they can tell me is no. So that's what I did. I went to the #1 radio station and they told me no, just like he said, not once, not twice, 5 times. I would come back like every 2 weeks, and they started like, they were like laughing at me. They thought I was joking. Like, okay, is this guy trying to prank us or something? I was serious.
What job were you applying for?
It was at K104 FM. And
Okay.
I was just trying to get my foot in the door. I didn't care what job they gave me, exactly. Because I knew that once I got in, I was going to work my way up to where I wanted to be, which is actually on the air. Mm. So I went there. The 6th time that I showed up, true story, it was like, it was right before lunch hour. So everybody was kind of coming out into the main area, getting ready to go to lunch and so on and so forth. So it was like, here's that rock character again. I said, listen, before you guys tell me no again, I'll work free of charge. You don't have to pay me anything. And they started laughing, cracking jokes like, man, this guy don't give up, does he? I'm like, I'm serious. They thought I was really joking. I said, you don't have to pay me a dime. Because in my head, I already seen this happening. I already had a vision in my head that if you give me an opportunity, I'm going to prove to you that I was going to be a valuable asset to this company one day. Long story short, the boss man took my offer, and they're like, okay, so you're going to come work 40 hours a week and we don't have to pay you anything. And there's no strings attached. I said, just look at it as kind of an internship. That's an unofficial internship. So pretty much they said yes. So what I did, I came up to that radio station for 40 hours every single week. I was in the promotions department. I was in the engineering department. I was in the programming department. I was getting lunch and coffee for everybody. I was in the mail room. I was doing everything in that building that you could possibly do, learning. Because one day I knew I was going to be valuable to this company one day. And I did this every single day. So now you're probably saying, okay, Rock, how are you able to pay your bills and take care of your financial responsibilities while you were working free of charge? I took the money that I saved from playing baseball, and I started my own baseball academy for kids on the weekends. So Saturday and Sunday, I was earning a living, and I built that baseball academy up pretty strong. And then Monday through Friday, I was working 40 hours a week at this radio station. I did that for about 6 months. 6 months in. Now, I'm a guy that's very optimistic. My motto in life is no excuses, get it done. I'm always finding the silver lining in everything that I do. But 6 months in, I still wasn't officially hired by this radio station. So I started getting discouraged. I'm like, well, man, I know I told them I'll work for free, but it's been 6 months. You would have think they would have hired me by now. So I literally almost quit. I was like, you know what? I can't take this no more. I need to go find me something else that I need to do. And then one of my mentors pulled me aside and says, Rock, what are you doing? I said, man, listen, I've been working for this radio station free of charge, busting my butt, doing more than people that's been there for years. I know just as much as people that has been there for years. And I've been there for 6 months and I still haven't got hired yet. You know, I got to go figure out and go do something else. And he says, Rock, listen to what you're saying. I'm like, what? You told him that you would work for free. I said, I know I told him that, but it's been 6 months. You know, come on, man. I'm out working everybody up there. Like, come on, something's got to give. You told him that you would work for free. Get your butt back in there and keep pushing. Nothing's going to be easy. They don't owe you anything. And so if this is your dream and this is something that you really want, go get it. So that motivated me a little bit. I got back in there. I kept on going. It got to about 9 months. Same thing. I got discouraged. I said, man, I can be taking my energy and taking my time and put towards something that's going to allow me to benefit from it. At this point, I'm shook, and I got other people in my ear telling me, you're wasting your time. I told you so. You're never going to do this, blah, blah, blah. They're taking advantage of you, all this stuff, right? So I was literally ready to just forget about it and quit again. And another mentor of mine, this is another mentor, another person, pulled me aside, and I asked them what they thought about it. And they say, listen, Rock, you're a sports fan. You play football. You watch the NFL every Sunday, right? I said, absolutely. He says, the NFL has 4 preseason games, right? I said, 4 preseason games. He says, what's the purpose of preseason games? I said, pretty much to iron out the wrinkles, find out what players are going to make the team. And, they're just practice games pretty much, getting ready for the regular season. Exactly. Everything that you're doing right now is preseason. You're preparing yourself for the regular season. Get your butt back up in there. Keep grinding. You have to make the team. This is your tryout. And I know it's a long tryout, but you're still in the preseason. So, man, that was what I needed to hear. At that point, I'm like, yo. So, and I got another message for that later on that relates back to this. But so I got back in there, and 3 more months later, still hadn't hired. A year in, I worked completely free for this radio station for 1 year. A position finally became available. They was forced to hire me. I created my own job.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know it at the time. Like, how could they disrespect me to go outside the company to find someone else to be in when I've been in there for 12 months, busting my butt? They had to hire me. So they gave me an opportunity, and I officially was on the payroll. Goal number 2 was accomplished. Officially, I'm getting paid to do radio. So that was the whole, yes, they told me no 5 times before I gave them that offer, but I had to sacrifice a lot to officially get on board.
Well, I'm going to say this, Rock. If you're looking for somebody to write a screenplay, I would like to nominate myself to be that person, because that sounds like a movie that needs to come out.
Let's go. Let's go.
I'm in.
Absolutely.
Oh,
so what was that first job? What was the role that was created for you? And what was that first thing that you did?
So my boss said, hey, Rock, let's go get a haircut. Let's go to the barbershop. So by this time I had already created great, relationships with everybody that worked in the company. So we were at the barbershop, and he's right when we're about to get ready to leave, he's like, you ready? I'm thinking he's saying, you ready? Like, let's go. We got a haircut. Let's go have some lunch back to the radio station. He says, you ready? I'm like, yeah, let's go. He says, no, are you ready? I'm like, yeah, let's go. He said, no, you ready? You ready to go on the air? Oh, and I was like, you talking about, I started stuttering. You talking about live on the air? He goes, yeah, you ready? I said, yeah. So I'm thinking he's going to say, all right, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to start getting you ready to go so you can be on the air. He's like, tonight.
Wow.
I said, so me, I'm one of those people that if the window of opportunity opens up, I fly through that window, and then I'll figure it out once I get on the other side. I'm not the type that, I take that back. I used to not be the type to look at the map before you walk into the woods. Uh-huh. I'm like, I'm going straight into the woods and I'm gonna figure it out. That's how I was at that time. So that's what I did. I said, yeah, let's go. I'm confident. Let's go. Let's ready. So that night at 2:00 a.m. overnights is when I first hit the air, and I've already been practicing this whole year. So I'm thinking I got everything figured out. Let's go, man. Let's pop the mic. Let's talk to the people out there. It's overnights. A lot of people aren't listening overnights. And man, my first time on, he calls me up at the end of my shift and says, come see me in the morning. So I go in his office in the morning. He says, Rock, I think the on-air part is not for you. Ooh. I'm like, what do you mean? He says, man, you can't holler and scream at the listeners. You can't yell at the listeners. I know you're excited, but you're yelling at the listeners. So I said, okay, I tell you what, teach me how to fix it and give me one more shot. So he's like, okay, here's your playbook. Just open the microphone, identify who you are, identify the radio station, and read the liners and everything that's on the log. And then that's it. Sign off every time. So I did that the next day, and the rest is history. 15 years later, I'm still doing radio. Actually, 20 years. I take that back. 20 years, and I'm still doing radio.
That's amazing. That's so, there's such a thread that we're weaving in there. And I can't wait to continue on with the different types of your whole journey, because you've already hit so many things on the head that Greg and I talk about all the time. The fact that you have mentors, the fact that you're learning, like so much to unpack there. But it's true to your testament. I mean, it's the stuff that you preach every single day and throughout all the different groups that you're part of. Man, it's that right there is just gold right there. If people just listen to that, I think they're going to get a ton out of it.
One of the things that you got me thinking, Rocky, as you were talking, and you made the comment, teach me how to fix it. Mm-hmm. And what a powerful mindset to have when you're younger, when you're our age, and when you're older, to always have that lifelong learning. How can I be identifying where I can continue to grow and get better in my life? And I think one thing that's interesting about radio in particular, we all grew up listening to radio. We all hear the DJs and we all say the same thing to ourselves. I could do that. Mm-hmm. But it's much different when you sit at home listening, or you're in your car listening, than when you actually get in front of a microphone to talk. I'd be curious to know from you, what were some of the biggest challenges that you had when you first started? And what were some of the skill sets that you had to really master to get to the level where you are today?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I had a long haired start because, once again, I was that 10-year-old little boy that used to put headphones on my head when I listened to the radio, not to listen to the music. I couldn't wait for the DJ to come on to start talking so I can emulate it and mock him and imitate him. So I used to just do that. My friends used to always make fun of me. My family used to always, "Oh, Rock, what are you doing now? He thinks he's a DJ. He thinks he's a radio DJ. Look at him. He's making a fool of himself." But I was already, I seen it. So when it actually happened, although I was, hollering and screaming at the beginning, I never was scared. I was a little nervous, but I wasn't scared. I wasn't intimidated by the microphone. I wasn't because I've been practicing this in my own head for my entire life. Mm-hmm. So that part didn't bother me. One thing that I had to learn is I realized that I had a unique personality. And when you think of old school radio, it's kind of like, "Hey, welcome to 95 Jams, and my name is ROCKTEEN, and you're listening to the hottest hits on your radio." It's kind of like robotic radio guy. Yeah. Nowadays, it's like, man, you got to have personality. Just let your natural personality shine, and don't get so radio. Don't be so robotic with your announcing. Don't become an announcer. Just be you and bring that on the air, and people will relate to you a little bit more. So that's what I did. And that was probably the biggest thing that I've learned that's allowed me to continue to have this 20-year radio career, is I'm just me. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because people that's been in radio, like old school radio, they would always tell me that I wouldn't last long doing it the way I was doing it, because Rock, nobody really cares about you. They just care about the music. And yes, music is very important, especially when you come to stations and radio stations that you want to hear your favorite songs. But when it's time for the DJ to talk, man, when they start learning that you're just a regular person like them, and I learned that, magic happened. It opened up the floodgates. And now it's like people was like coming to listen to the music, but they couldn't also wait to hear another story about ROCKTEEN or whoever the DJ is that's on the air. So, any little pieces of advice that I give people that want to get in radio or even television, don't be afraid to just be you. Just be your unique, authentic self, because people are going to relate to you faster because they're going to realize that you're just like them. I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was going to just real quick, Sammy, I was going to say, and that advice I think is good for radio, for TV. It's good for every single job.
You hit it.
Every single thing that people do. And I think so often, Rocky, is we get pulled out of our comfort zones into trying to be people that we're not. And we start putting on facades and masks. And to a T, it always leads you down the wrong path. But when you can be confident in yourself and realize that I've got a unique personality, I've got unique skills, I've got unique weaknesses, but I'm going to step forward and be who I am and be comfortable that not every time it's going to work out for me. But the reality is you're going to learn that it's going to work out for you more often than it's not by being yourself and not being somebody fake or trying to be an imposter. But what do you want to add on that, Sammy?
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's like there's so many times, and we've all met those people, right? We've all seen the people that you can tell they're kind of that whole faking it till they make it stuff. But if they were true to themselves and asked for help, ask for questions, ask how they can be better versus thinking they had all those answers, they would just skyrocket, and so I think that's something that you just mentioned there. Because one of my favorite lines that you've said is that it's just right there. Is like, and we just mentioned it, was about being able to ask how to fix it. I mean, I think that's just powerful. If you can do that throughout your day and people do that throughout their day, it's going to be very impactful.
And I think another aspect it made me think about is humility, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you're humble enough to realize that you are who you are, You've got strengths, you've got weaknesses, you've got flaws. None of us are perfect, but when you're comfortable in your own skin, then that's when you can really take off. And that kind of leads me into my next question, Rock T. The first time I met you, you actually came down for a visit to the organization that I work, Vogel Alcove, a nonprofit that works with homeless children and homeless families. And I gave you a tour of the facility. And it was interesting because when we wrapped up and finished, you left and I came back inside, and I think about 9 or 10 of our teachers ran up to me and said, Greg, how do you know Rock T? How do you know Rock T? They were freaking out that Rock T was down at Vogel Alcove. And so it kind of goes to just fame. And so I'm kind of curious, how do you navigate fame in your life? How do you remain humble? How do you not let those type of things where people see you on TV, they hear you on the radio, how do you kind of just keep consistent with who you are when you're consistently being approached and maybe put on an elevated level by other people?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I just told myself, no matter how big or popular or how much fame that I've ever received, that I was going to always maintain a very humble spirit and continue to be me. And people, it's funny because when people meet me, whether they're meet me on the phone or they meet me in person, the first thing they all say 100% of the time is, Rock, you sound like you're on the radio. You sound like you're live on the radio. I'm like, this is me. Like, I'm not fake on the radio. This is me. I'm like this all the time. And when people ask me for pictures and stuff like that, and I'm like, yeah, sure, let's go. You know, listen, I used to be that kid that wished that somebody would pay attention to me, wish that somebody would say, just take that time to say, hey, man, I'm watching you. Hey, man, good job. Hey, and, you know, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I have great parents, my mother and father. My father has always pushed me to be great. He's 8th grade education, but the wisest man on earth has always taught me to listen. Nobody's going to give you anything and nobody owes you anything. You go get it. And so it's not about balancing. It's just being who you are. This is me. And you either like me the way I am or you don't. You know, I don't want to put on a fake personality to get you to like me. Because when that fake personality, or you got to take that fake face off, then they see the real you, then you're going to burn a lot of bridges that way in life. And then it's like, oh man, he's fake. That's how you become labeled fake, when you try to be fake. And then your realness really comes out. So just be you. And hopefully people can appreciate who you are. And if they do, great. If not, then that's okay. Go find another circle of people that's going to appreciate you and keep moving.
Absolutely. You know, we talked about you being on the Rickey Smiley Morning Show, and I know it was on Dish Nation for a long time too. So it was great to see you on there, because I would turn it on and you'd be on there. But I know it's, when you're on set, right? When you're with the crew, and you're hanging out and you're having a good time, you're like doing all kinds, telling jokes and doing everything. It can look like, it's so easy. But maybe tell us a little bit about that work ethic in your preparation for like the shows or for your radio show or that type of life.
Yeah, it's you got to put in a lot of prep work. You gotta see the play before the play is ran. You have to, it's like, let's just take football, for example. Everyone looks at football games on Sundays, Sunday nights and Sundays and Mondays. And they think that the players just go out there and just, hey, let's go play. But they forgot about Monday, Tuesday, all day in film, the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday practices, Saturday again, film and all that. Then they finally put put everything together on Sunday and Monday. It's the same thing in life. It's the same thing in what we do every single day. It's like, people, they hear the show, they see the show, and they see us laughing, having a good time. And man, that's an easy job for them or whatever. But it's not really, because at the end of the day, think about it. When you make a mistake on the air, you're live on the air, whether it's radio, whether it's television, you're out there. Everybody heard the mistake or they seen the mistake, and you can do one or two things. You can panic under pressure and make it worse, or you can just have confidence and be like, listen, once again, it goes back to that, I'm normal just like you. I'm not, I don't want to become, I don't want to be perfect. There's no such thing as being perfect, because if you try to be perfect, you're going to look unperfect. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So, but the prep work, if you prep and you practice enough and you put that sacrifice in, then when it's time for game time, you're going to have less mistakes, versus a whole bunch of mistakes because you thought you were just going to wing it. Now, we've been blessed to be together, like with the Rickey Smiley Morning Show. I've been doing radio 20 years, but Rickey Smiley for 15 years. So our chemistry is pretty easy. Like, we can be in 5 different cities. And, when you listen to the show, you can't really tell because of our chemistry. We've been together for so long. We know our lanes. We know when, how to maneuver throughout the show. So that makes it a little bit easier when you build that long chemistry with each other. But we still each individually have to prepare for our role that we play, but we also have to prepare as a team, as a unit. And I think that's what makes the success of the show.
Yeah, you could definitely tell, like, just the vibe that y'all have, the way that you can play and bounce off each other, the fact that you don't cut each other off consistently. It's just a good-natured, fun time. And you're right. For someone that kind of understands a little about the behind the scenes of production, you can tell like a lot of that work goes into it. And I love your analogy, because think about football players, to use that analogy. They're like studying for the hardest test they've ever had to take, mental and physically, every single week, right? Not to mention the off season, right? That's to even stay in shape, but try doing that every single week. And that's the same thing for you, right? Doing it every single day, being there live, on camera, being filmed, being recorded, whatever that may be. So yeah, again, it's that preparation. It's a phrase that Greg and I say all the time: preparation equals separation. And so
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. No, that's a great statement right there, because no matter how good you think you are, no matter how long you've been doing something, you never can stop preparing. You can never stop preparing. And that's why the greats become greater and legendary. I tell my kids all the time, you can be great or you can be legendary. Which one you want to be? And to me, great is mediocre. I want to be legendary, and not legendary from the status perspective, not from accolades and awards, because that doesn't define me. It's cool when people recognize you and they give you awards and stuff like that, but that doesn't define who I am. And I tell people all the time, don't let your legacy be a wood plaque on a wall or a trophy. You know what I'm saying? It's great that you got that, but let your legacy be something that everyone that's coming behind you has even learned something from you and can continue to push forward on what they've learned.
That was such a great segue, because there's something I wanted to talk about, which I know is very important to you. And that's about your family and your wife. And one of the things too, I've got a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, both daughters. So I'm right in the thick of things right now. They're liking me now, but I feel like sometimes they're turning on me. So I'm keeping a close eye on that. But I will have to say that we've noticed this over the course of pandemic and everything, but TikTok fame with your daughter. Y'all had it going on with the dance moves.
Yeah.
So it's so cool to see. And now you have the podcast with your wife too, right? So it's so cool to see you incorporate. Why is it so important for you to bring your family into this media?
Oh man, family comes first over everything. Like, think about it. You spend most of your time with your family at home. And if home is not strong, if home is not happy, if home is not healthy, then your life is going to be miserable. You're going to be frustrated, sad, mad, upset, bothered, and I'm like, so home has to be happy for me. I'm one of those people that I'm always happy. And when I'm not happy, I make sure that my foundational home is because the best way to explain it is if home is not happy and you got to come home every day, then you're not going to be happy. So I have a very active and busy lifestyle. And if I'm not careful, I can let that active and busy lifestyle conquer my home and become more important in my home. So what I had to realize is, okay, how can I implement home and my busy lifestyle and bring them both together. And doing things like the TikTok with the kids, doing things like the daddy-daughter duets with me and my daughter Harmony and my son, and everything that I do, me and my wife doing things, funny things or whatever. That's how I was able to incorporate family into my busy lifestyle and still having fun at the same time. So I get it. You got to have balance. You got to have balance. Me as husband and wife, for me and my wife, we always say, as much as we love each other, we're best friends. Sometimes we need to be apart from each other, just to kind of you can have your me time. I can have my me time. Then at the end of the day, when we come back together, it's going to be like, oh, I miss you, honey. So, I found a way to, and I don't mind sharing this. Let me be very transparent, because this is a story that just popped in my head that tested our family and our marriage. Is when Dish Nation first cranked up and it was on the air, we literally moved. I was Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday and Thursday, I was living in Atlanta because the Dish Nation television production was in Atlanta. I live in Dallas. So I would be in Atlanta Monday through Thursday. And then I would fly back to Dallas Thursday afternoon after we finished taping Dish Nation. And then I'll be home Thursday evening, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I'll do this all over again. I did that for almost 4 years. Now, my wife would travel to Atlanta periodically, probably about once a month. But she was like at home holding the fort down with the kids and the school and everything. And here I am in Atlanta, living it up, doing this television show and blah, blah, blah. Even though I was home on the weekend, when I got home on the weekend, I was happy fun daddy. The kids like, daddy's home. Let's go have some ice cream, And my wife was like, oh, all this stuff that you know what I'm saying? But that was a real test for us. And that I realized that, okay, I had to come to a crossroads of I cannot allow fame, fortune, no matter what, to get in the way of my family and my marriage. So this goes back to sacrifice. And how can I blend the two? So that's when, I had to make a couple of changes in my career and came back home to Dallas. Thank God that my radio company was allowing me to continue to do the radio show from Dallas, not from Atlanta. But here's where the blessing comes around. Now the radio show is back in Dallas. So even though we're a syndicated national show in 80 markets around the country, the mothership is back in Dallas.
Nice.
I know I rambled and I went all around the block. I hope I answered the question.
No,
that's great,
perfect.
Rocky. And it brings up a point that I want to share. In the book that Sam and I wrote, The Pursuit of Growth, we talk about, there was a Harvard study that it was probably released, don't quote me on this, 5 or 6 years ago, but it was an 80-year-old study that Harvard did to basically try to find out what brings people joy in life. Like, what is the foundational element of joy? And as you can imagine, there's a lot of things that go into that. Mm-hmm. But this 80-year-old study, and they studied, I think, over like 20,000 people. They were able to narrow down, there's one variable that by and all really is the determining factor, and that is the quality of your closest relationships, hence your immediate family and your closest friends, because we are tribal people, right? And what's interesting is they said that it's not only, if we're going to talk about a man and a woman and a married couple, it's not just a couple that just gets together and everything's lovey-dovey for 50 years of their life, but it's a commonality of trust and understanding that the other person has their back. And they're going to have disagreements. They're going to have challenges and trials, but they have a commitment to each other that no matter what, they are the team, right? Mm-hmm. And people that adopted that type of a lifestyle, the joy in their life, the way that they approached their life was just 180 degrees different from everybody else. And I think it just goes into, you look at our lives, and one of the first things you talked about, Rock, when you started sharing that story, was you had to make changes because family is number one. Mm-hmm. And you talked about how important that is because that's the foundation for the happiness in your life. You've basically just summarized with this 80-year-old study, basically told us, is that when you put your inner circle first, it's amazing what happens. And where I'm going with this question is another thing that you said, sacrifices, because you've got to make sacrifices to be able to prioritize the important things in life. And so I'd like you to maybe elaborate a little bit more on that, because here you gave up some career opportunities. What else have you had to give up to prioritize time with your family, with your wife, and that inner circle to be able to really solidify this relationship that you have now with your family?
Wow. During that same time of doing Dish Nation, going back and forth, my son was still 3, 4. No, it was 2 and 3, 2, 3, 4, somewhere. Yeah, I think it was 2, 3, and 4. So you can imagine my son, my only son, who thinks daddy is just the king. And my wife used to always drop me off at the airport every Sunday heading back to Atlanta. And I'm going to answer your question, but I think this story is going to hit home. One time when she dropped me off, I always kiss her, tell her I love her. I lean back to the back seat, tell my son he's the man of the house now. Dad'll be back in a couple of days, so take care of the ladies. And he puts his little 2, 3-year-old grin on his face, and then I get out the car and I go into the airport. This one particular time, I said that, but then when I got out the car to get ready to go in the airport, I looked back into the back seat again from outside the vehicle, and my son was crying. I never, because I never looked back after I got out the car. I just went straight into the airport, and something told me. I just looked back at him, and he was crying. And so I opened the door, looked at my wife. I said, what's wrong? She goes, he does this every week you leave.
Wow.
I said, because all I see is him, you're the man of the house. And he's grinning and he's like, okay, daddy.
Right.
And then that was his way of showing me I'm a man up in front of you and show you that I am strong, like you're teaching me. But at the end of the day, inside, I'm miserable because I miss my daddy.
Yeah.
So at that point, I grabbed him out the back seat of the car. I took him into the airport with me, no suitcase, nothing, and bought him a flight. And he came to Atlanta with me and spent that week. And that entire week, it was one of the best weeks of my life. One of the best weeks of my life, because my son, not only was he happy to be with me, but I realized how important it was for me to not only be in his life, but for him to be in mine. And that was another one of those crossroads moments that helped me make the decision of, okay, here comes a change. I have to make some adjustments. So that sacrifice was exactly what you just said. I may lose this over here, but that's all right, because when one door closes, God, I'm a man of faith. God opens up 5 more over here, especially if you're doing the right thing, especially if you have the right morals and everything that you believe in. And I just stepped out on faith. I said, I walk. Listen, I'm losing a bigger paycheck. I'm losing national notoriety on this show or whatever. But one thing that I'm gaining is a priceless moment with my son and with my family that you can't put a dollar price on. And because of that, other things opened up. And that's something that I share with people all the time. Don't panic. Don't be frustrated. Don't feel like you're going to miss out on something if you have to, make a sacrifice. Because if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be your own business owner, if you want whatever it is, you want to fulfill them dreams, don't be afraid to walk away from your job, or to walk away from that career, or to walk away from hanging around those people that you're hanging around that you think are your friends, then they're really not your friends. Because if they were your friends, they would motivate you to be doing the same thing that I'm telling you to do right now. And every time you share your dream with people, if they're telling you excuses on why you're wasting your time and it won't work, those are called dream killers. And you need to stop hanging around them, even if they're your own family members.
Yeah.
I love my family to death. But if you got people in your family that are dream killers, you need to stop sharing your dreams with them. And you need to distance yourself. And like grandmama used to say, feed them with that long handle spoon. And you love them, and we'll keep on moving. I'm going to check on you. I got mad love for you, whatever. But I got to go hang around some people that I'm going to learn from, and that's going to help me be the best version of myself.
Yes, when Sammy and I both talk about when you've got, again, that inner circle we talk about, it's so key to your success in life. It's the people you surround yourself with. And the great thing about life is you can choose who you bring in that inner circle. Now, I will admit, we all know it's challenging when you've got that person that you grew up with, or you've got that family member that it's toxic, or is that dream killer like you talked about. But that's part of your attitude, Rock, you talked about go out and get it and no excuses, those type of things. You've got to learn, how can I put that person at a distance? That doesn't mean you stop loving them, but you put them outside of your inner circle. And I think your grandmother had that's the best analogy I've ever heard. You feed them with a long spoon.
Absolutely.
That gave me chills when you said that. I absolutely love that, because so many people need to hear that, because people literally are surrounding themselves with people that are holding them back, and not from success, or not necessarily from accolades, but just holding them back from things that they should be doing with their lives that they feel called to do, but they're afraid to do it because of what other people think.
Absolutely. And that's the most toxic thing that can happen in a person's life, because you start believing it, and then you start questioning yourself, then you start doubting yourself, and then that fear sits in. And I tell people all the time, man, fear is man-made. You know, we're not born afraid. We don't even know what fear is. And what puts fear into babies are adults. Think about it. When a baby falls, they try to stand up and they walk and they fall for the first time. Two things can happen. The parent can be like, oh my God. And now the baby's like,
I'm supposed to be upset now, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Or you can be like, yay, the baby fell. Now inside, we're hoping and praying that the baby didn't get hurt, but it's like, yay. So now the baby's like, oh, okay. So now life is the same way, man. It's you gotta, man, you can't allow people to write your story. It's your story. You're the author of your story. You write it. And there's nothing wrong with going to get help. But if that author that you're going to get help from is not willing to share your story or write your story the way you want it written, then you need to find you another person to get another author to help you write. Because it's like, well, you shouldn't do that. You should put this part in this chapter. But it's not my story. You know, be the author of your own story.
I love that last little part there too. It's like, and if you don't have the right author, if you don't have the right person to help you, you can always find another one, you know?
That's it. And that's so important, because listen, you're going to fail. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do things the wrong way. We all do. And you can't look at failing as something bad. That's actually good, because you just learn what to do or what not to do. That's a learning experience. You know, I know you heard this all the time, but failing is awesome. When people tell me, oh man, I messed up, I made a mistake. Good. And you should feel proud. Well, why? Why should we celebrate that? Because now you learn what not to do next time. You just learned something. And if you keep doing that over and over again, you're going to continue to get better and better. And people are going to want to help you, because you can't be one of those people that think you know it all. You think you got life all figured out. And, you know, I tell people all the time, I like to be the dumbest person in my circle. And when you become the smartest person in your circle, you stop learning, because you think you know it all. You know, you're not challenged anymore. So nothing wrong with the circle that you're the smartest person in, but okay, it's time to find a new circle. So there it is.
Well, you know, you were talking about authors. You're an author.
That's right.
You recently released your first book, and I remember we had dinner a couple of years ago, and you were on the verge of releasing it. It came out. It's a fantastic book. I've read it. I'd love for you to share a little bit about what inspired you to write this book, and what you've been accomplishing with it, and what you want to continue to do as you continue to grow with your public speaking, with your coaching, with just your service towards helping others, because it really is a powerful story and a powerful book.
Absolutely, man. It's called No Excuses, Get It Done. Shameless plug right here. No Excuses, Get It Done right there.
I'll bring it over in a second. I meant to bring it over to the table here. I'll show the world that I got it here.
I've got product placement right here.
Yes, there it is. There it is.
In fact, keep going, Rock. I gotta go. Keep going.
It's all good, man. It's like I said, my motto in life is no excuses, get it done. Stop making excuses on how you cannot succeed or why you cannot succeed, and find solutions on how you can. And most of the time, the reason why we never succeed in anything is because we get in our own way. And it's kind of that mental paralysis is what I talk about in the book. So the book, pretty much, I share my story, and I just, use experiences to hopefully motivate and teach people how to conquer their mental paralysis. And once you get past that part, it becomes so easy. Appreciate that love right there, my man. It becomes so, it's a mindset all day long. And that's really it, man. So mastering how to master your mindset. And it's not hard. People make things so hard and difficult because they've been taught to believe that things are hard and difficult. Now, what I mean by that, are there things that gonna be hard and difficult in life? Yes, but don't make it harder by believing that it's hard. Mm-hmm. Example, if I want to be LeBron James and I wasn't blessed with any kind of athletic ability, okay, I may not make it to the NBA as a basketball player, but I love the sport of basketball. So if I don't make it as a player, I could be a coach, I could be a trainer, I can be a scout, I can work on an executive office for one of these NBA franchises. There's so many things that I can do in the sport of basketball that will still satisfy my need of doing something that I love, being surrounded around something that I love. So, but most people stop when they say, well, I'm not that good at basketball. I'm not going to be in the NBA. So now I'm a failure. What am I going to do with my life now? But a lot of that comes from how they were raised, what they've been taught. And that's all they know. Okay. When they hit a brick wall, they quit and they go back the other way. But successful people, when they hit a brick wall, they're figuring out how to get through that bad boy or over it, or it may take a little while, but let's walk around it. Mm-hmm. So, and that's just some of the things that I share in my book, No Excuses, Get It Done, because it's literally, there's nothing you can tell me. And some people don't like this part about me. There's nothing you can tell me where I don't find a silver lining in. I'm the guy that's,
yeah.
Oh man, it's that period. And people get frustrated with me, in a funny way, because they're like, Rock, everything is not all just whipped cream and cherries. I'm like, why not? Mm-hmm. It's up to you. It's how you accept things. It's how you react. Listen, you can't control what other people do or say, but you can control how you react to it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Rock, there's so many parallels between the book Sammy and I wrote, The Pursuit of Growth, and your book. And we actually have a section where we talk about silver linings and how we believe silver linings exist in every single circumstance. And we use the example that, okay, let's say that you have a loved one that passes away. Mm-hmm. That's one of the most difficult and challenging things that we can go through as people on this earth. Mm-hmm. And the silver lining doesn't replace the pain and the sadness from the loss, but it gives you that positivity to grab onto. So maybe as an example, that silver lining is family and friends coming together to support you, to show you that you've got a team of people that have your back. Now, again, that doesn't replace the loss of that loved one, but it gives you something to grab onto and to move forward with, right? That's what the silver lining is, and you can find joy in that silver lining. You can use that as the start, and I think, Rock, you're going to agree with this, that it's all about perspective. And one of my mantras, and I've got a real quick funny story about this, and I write it down on my legal pad every day that I go to work. It says, equipped with the right attitude, life is limitless. Mm-hmm. And one time, Sammy and I were talking to somebody about this, and they made the comment, and they were like, okay, Greg, if life is limitless with the right attitude, can you fly? And Sammy, actually, I don't know if you remember this, Sammy goes, he can fly. He can get on a plane today if he wants to.
Mm-hmm. Let's go.
I can fly. Mm-hmm. So again, I love your story about LeBron James. Okay, maybe I want to be LeBron James. Well, you know what? Maybe I can't be an NBA star, but you know what? I can go play basketball down at the LA Fitness tonight and have a great time living out that passion. So again, it's all about perspective and attitude. Mm-hmm. And when you work on that, because that's not something that just comes natural, you've got to work on it, on how you program your mind. Because if you don't program your mind, the world will, and they will program it in ways that do not go well for you.
Absolutely. And let's just be honest. They don't even teach a lot of this stuff in school. Mm-mm. I'll tell a kid to always go in school, to always stay in school, I would never tell a kid not to go to school, but I will tell a kid to, okay, don't stop your education at school. You know, educate yourself outside of school. And there's books to help you do that. There's mentors to help you do that. YouTube, watch the right videos. That can help you do that. And once again, no excuse. You can't blame where you live because you came up, you know, in a low income area. You can't blame. Listen, when you get to a age, you know right from wrong. You know good from bad. You know how to say yes. You know how to say no. Eventually, you should want more for your life. And stop blaming everybody else or the system. It's you have a mind of your own. What are you going to do? What are you going to fill your mind with? People always say knowledge is power. Yes, it is, unless you don't use that knowledge. Because you can get all the knowledge. You can read 1,000 books. But if you don't use the knowledge that you're learning in those books, you're still stuck in quicksand. You know?
Yeah, you just found another new hobby. That's all it is, right? Just reading
Absolutely.
books. Yeah, and, you know, it's so funny that you mentioned that because there was a time in my life, and we talk about this, Greg and I talk about this all the time, is where I think I was always curious ever since I was a little kid. I always wanted to learn more. I wanted to learn the why behind things. I wanted to know how things work. Matter of fact, my parents were both mechanics, so I would take things apart just to see how they worked. And, you know, because I had access to a screwdriver, you know, half the time put it together and there'd be pieces missing, whatever, you know, it wouldn't work anymore. But I always wanted to learn how. But that curiosity never left me. But I also forgot how to keep teaching myself, how to keep learning right after college. You know, you graduate college, you get your first job. Next thing you know, you're just kind of like, okay, I've got a job. Let me do my job. And I was
start coasting, right? Yeah.
Cruise control.
Yep. You're like, what is it? Like, what am I supposed to do? Okay, I'm going to go do that. What am I supposed to do? Okay, I'm going to go do that. Then you get to that point where like you get cruise control again. So I think naturally it's that curiosity. You need to have that. And the more you can stay curious, finding YouTube videos, finding inspiration in going outside, listening to yourself, you know, spending time alone, away from the noise and talking to yourself, prayer, meditation, whatever that you call it. I think it's key to continue that curiosity and continue that learning, because again, you don't want to lose that. The moment you stop learning, I believe, is the moment you stop living.
Period. That's the best way to sum it up.
Well, that leads me to a part I wanted to talk about. It says on your website that you have the Dream Job Freedom, the online program. I know all about Stomp Wars, which we'll get into here shortly, about the ROCKTEEN program, about the books, about the radio, but that was something that was new to me when we were doing some research. So tell me a little bit about that. Fill me in on that.
Absolutely. So what Dream Job Freedom is, and I say was for a reason, and I'll get to that point. That was something that, once again, I was a kid that dreamed big, and I always told myself I want to have my own dream job. I want to do my dream jobs. So I was blessed to be able to do that. And so when I achieved my goals of doing my dream job and not letting other people get in the way of that, I got, and because of being a public figure, I said, man, I need to share some of these stories that I've learned, that people have taught me along the way, how to go after your dream job or career and actually get it. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to start a splash page, and I'm going to call it Dream Job Freedom. And it was literally just a splash page, and you can opt in your email, put your email address in, and you'll just start receiving emails from me every week, just little bitty tips and things and stories that I share in my journey. And it started off as just that. And then after about 3 weeks and 2,500 emails, I was like, okay, I got something here. There's a lot of people out there that's like me that want to know more. And they was like, man, Rock, you should create some type of online academy or whatever. So I started, because I wasn't an expert at the online course academy or whatever. I found people that was, and I just started asking questions. Okay, how can I take this and expand it to really continue to help add value to people's life outside of just sending emails, people that want more. So I'm the type of person that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it big and I'm going to do it right, because I really want people to get some benefit out of it. So along that, I did a little bit more homework. I got my No Excuses Get It Done book that came out. And then my wife and I, we got our podcast going on with the relationship stuff. So I got all these irons in the fire. And I'm like, okay, the one thing that I don't want to do is get too spread out, too thin, and not be able to deliver 100% results. So how can we implement all of this into one online course? So I stopped, I hit the pause button. And then at first I'm like, okay, I want to do a no excuses, get it done online course that teaches how to be an entrepreneur, how to invest properly, how to get your credit in order, and so on and so forth, and just share some of the things that I share in my book as well. But let's go deeper. And then it went from that to the podcast started taking off. So they was wanting a lot more from me and KRYSTAL as relationship advice and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, okay, how do we implement both of them? So now we're at the point, it's funny that you asked that question, where we're literally about to relaunch an online course that is centered around how to conquer your mental paralysis from the relationships. And I put an S at the end of relationship for a reason. Your personal relationships, whether it's your marriage, if you're dating, couples or whatever, and also your professional relationships, if you're trying to be a business owner, entrepreneur, and so on and so forth. So we've kind of migrated them both together. And that's going to be launched here within the next 2 weeks. So look out for that. And you'll be able to find all that information right there on rockteeholla.com or any of my social media platforms, which is at rockteeholla.
Well, Rock, your desire and your love for serving other people is admirable. And I think you would probably agree with me. I tell people that actually serving and helping other people is one of the most selfish things you can do because of just the feeling that you get in return from helping people and just the synergies and just the gratitude that comes along with it. I think just God designed it that way. You get the biggest dopamine hit if you make serving others a priority of your life. And one of the things that Sammy and I both admire about you is your ROCKTEEN program and what you do with STOMP WARS. And so I'd love for you to share a little bit more about those programs and what's drawn you to really want to reach out and help youth in terms of the programs you put together.
Absolutely. A lot of people always ask me, if you're not familiar with STOMP WARS, it's become the biggest youth, not only stepping competition, but movement in the country. And,
it's incredible.
And I say that with a very humble spirit, man. We're so grateful for the growth of it. 15 years ago, I was invited to host a high school step competition. And when I got there was a 14-year-old girl who was a member of one of the step teams off on the side crying. And we're about to get ready to start the show. And she's like crying. So I go over there like, hey, what's wrong? And she had told me she had just found out she was pregnant. So me being me, I'm trying to lift her spirits. I say, hey, get your butt off the ground. You got a step team over there that's depending on you to win this competition tonight. So go do that first, and then we'll come back and we'll handle the situation after that. Long story short, she chuckled a little bit. Step show went on. The next day, I received an email from the principal of her school saying that she had dropped out. She felt like she had to go get a job. She was being raised by her grandmother as a single guardian. And 2 weeks later, I received a phone call from that same principal saying, hey, you remember that young lady that dropped out of school from the step team? I said, yeah, well, she's back at school. I said, awesome. And she wanted to give you the credit for her coming back to school from the words that you shared with. I said, well, I'm not going to take credit for that. I want to come see her. So I went to her campus and I said, listen, why did you come back to school? And don't give me credit for that. Mm-hmm. And she paused for a second and says, my step team. I said, so you didn't come back to graduate. You didn't come back to try to, get good grades to go to college, whatever. You just came back only because of your step. She said, yeah, that's the only positive thing in my life. And I missed my step team. Mm. So at that point, I realized, okay, I have to use my influence to do something because there's thousands of other kids just like her around the country. And that was the why of creating STOMP WARS. I looked at this stepping movement at the time, which was very small. There probably was a youth step team in about 20% of schools at the time. And I said, I'm going to start locally in Dallas-Fort Worth and just create this big, huge Super Bowl step competition and give away $10,000 back to these inner city step programs who didn't have any money. They were low income. And so that was it. and 800 people showed up because of the internet. Didn't take long for the word to get around. Other step teams, some other cities like, whoa, what is this step show that's in Dallas, Fort Worth, that's giving away $10,000? We want to come. And long story short, it just kind of kept populating and populating. It just kept growing and growing and growing. Now there's a youth step team in 85% of high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools nationwide.
Incredible.
But it's not just about stepping. Stomp Wars has literally become a college and career pathway, kind of framed for students through an extracurricular activity. And that activity just happens to be stepping. So we've added a teen summit. We've added financial literacy, social impact panels, anything. We just added an esports component as well. So we're using the platform, even though it's centered around stepping, we're using that to kind of just give positive options for kids, and if a kid can get excited about coming to school just to participate in their step team, what's going to end up happening is the dropout rate is going to decrease. The academic achievement is going to increase because of no pass, no participate. And the most important piece out of all that is their social emotional well-being is going to improve because of everything that comes along with the mentorship, the brotherhood and the sisterhood of being a part of the step team and working together as a team. And now all the educational components that we've added to it over the years, now they're ready to go and conquer anything when it comes to career or college. They're literally college and career ready now.
We had, so when I was with Vogel Alcove, there was a couple of times during our Day One Dallas program where we had multiple instances where the ROCKTEEN steppers came out and performed, not only performed on stage at the event, which I'll talk about next, but they also came on to WFAA Channel 8 here in Dallas and did like a small little routine, kind of like to lead us into the actual promotion of the event. And I'll never forget being outside in the hallway as they were all practicing and warming up. They all had the matching shirts on and everything, and we were talking about it. And there was something that stood out to me out of everything there, right? So they were focused, they were concentrating, they were talking, they were strategizing, they're game planning, they knew their stuff. But the one thing that stood out to me was the fact that they all had a smile on their face. They were all excited and they were all happy to be there, but it wasn't because they were about to be on TV. It goes back to what you just said. They were happy to be around the people that they were there for, and they were all happy to support each other. And that was also what stood out to me at Day One Dallas. They probably had 50 people there. 50 kids there. They came up on the stage that we had and they set in formation and then they started. And afterwards, as out of breath as they all were, you could see that smile, that standing at attention. And they were huffing and puffing because they were into it, but that they were glowing with pride. And I think that attributes back to the fact of what it all means to work together, be in that family, and being around those right types of people. So that story really resonates with me as well.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you recognize that, because that goes back to the why we do it.
Go ahead, Sammy.
I was going to follow it up with, when did this passion for helping other people, even youth, or other people as well, when did that start in your life?
Man, it really started. It's kind of always been there, because I was always the kid that put myself second. I never knew why. I was just always this super nice kid that, hey, go for it. Hey, no, go ahead. Hey, no, you can have this or whatever. So it's always been there. But when I became an adult, so many people told me no. I've gotten told no so many times in my life that I thought my name was Noah. And I crack the joke all the time. I thought, hey, so it's like so many people told me no, and I'm trying to knock these doors down. Like, hey, look at me. Hey, pay attention to what I'm doing. Hey, can you help me over here? Hey, look what I got. Hey, look at this idea. And it was always no, 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 no. And, having strong mentors and a strong self-esteem, I learned how to turn that no around to, when you flip that word around, it says it's on. So I learned how to flip that switch on, like, okay, it's on. Like it's time. If nobody, you can knock on as many doors as you want, but sometimes you got to get tired of that door slamming in your face. So I'm going to go build my own door and walk through it. So when I got into the position of I don't like you, I guess influence, that's a good word. The position of influence, these kids look up to me because of what I do for a living. Just because I'm a radio television personality, I'm a celebrity to them. They look up to me. So, the least that I can do is help open doors for them, because I was the person that used to try to knock open all these doors. A lot of them slammed in my face, but a few of them did open up for me, and I that's always been a great gratifying feeling for me when somebody finally said, yes, I hear you, Rock, and I believe in you. Here, let me open this door of opportunity for you. Now you go take advantage of it. So that was just so gratifying to me. Said, man, I want to do that for more people. And so that's where it's always been there, but it's you can't explain it. You just can't explain that when you get told no so many times, and someone finally says yes and give you a shot. Man, that's just something that you can't ever forget about. So you just can't help but to pay it forward.
Yeah, it's impactful.
And I think it means a lot to you, right? Whenever you get that, you don't want to let that person down. I know personally, if someone gives you a shot, you don't want to let them down. And I think that's that extra layer of motivation that comes with that, because not all doors will open, but when they do, I know a lot of people will take that and say, you know what, I'm going to pay you back tenfold.
Come on now. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
And I like that too, Sam. And by letting people down, it's not by not achieving whatever that opportunity might have been, but it's that work ethic you put towards going after that assistance in that direction. And that's where it's all out. I love that. That's powerful. Well, Rock, this is the part of the show where we start kind of wrapping things up. And so we actually have two questions that we're going to ask you. Both you've actually answered in some shape, form, or fashion through the conversation that we've already had. So I may challenge you to share something a little bit new with the audience, maybe just the first thing that comes to your mind. But the first question, we ask this of every one of our guests we have on the show, and it's really just based in kind of the world of personal and professional development, which a lot of our conversation is kind of focused on. But when I say those words to you, can you share whether it's a method, an actionable tip, a routine, or a process? What's something that you've developed or that you've learned that you could share with our audience that's been impactful for you?
The best way that I can answer that question is to be a mountain climber. You have to think like a mountain climber. Now, when a mountain climber go out to conquer a mountain, there's a bunch of different tangibles that comes along with that. You have this heavy 75-pound backpack that you got to tote up this huge mountain. You have blisters that you're going to get from hiking so much up this mountain. You're going to get scratched and cut up from the branches of the trees. Depending on how high you get, it starts getting cold. There's wildlife, possibly, danger. There's so much stuff that comes along with climbing a mountain. And everything that I've mentioned so far, there's nothing really, hey, awesome, let's go. But the mountain climber loves it. You know why? Because the mountain climber embraced climbing the mountain and everything that comes along with it. They love it. They've embraced the struggle. They've embraced the grind. So my words to whoever's watching this is embrace the grind. Embrace it. Embrace the struggle, because if you embrace it, it won't feel like a struggle. It's going to happen. Nothing's going to be perfect. So get that out of your head. Now, what makes it feel perfect is when you embrace the grind and you just keep going. You set your mark. Top of that mountain, I'm going. Blood, sweat, and tears. I don't care what it takes. I'm getting there. And when you've done that, all you can do more. It's never over unless you quit. And if you never quit, it's never over, because it's going to be so gratifying and it builds character. And you're going to be able to, when you conquer that mountain, that goal of yours, there's nothing after that moment that's going to be able to make you stop or quit. Will Smith said it best. Success is just on the other side of fear. And we get so fearful because of what other people tell us. We get so doubtful because we want everybody to like what we're doing. If somebody says, no, that's not going to work, we stop and we give up on ourselves and we give up on our dreams. But if you can somehow push yourself to just keep going and just, you're right on the other side of fear. You're right on the other side of that one step. There's nothing wrong with being afraid of something. Let me wrap it up by saying this. There's nothing wrong with being afraid, right? If you have the courage to face it. Listen, if you're one of those people that just gets fearful of everything, but you have the courage to face it, you've won. The problem is if you don't have that courage to face it and you just walk away, and now you're going to be miserable the rest of your life.
Rocky, I had the opportunity a couple of years ago to spend some time with the Navy SEAL that led the actual raid that took out Osama bin Laden. And in his presentation, he talked about learn and train to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I want to introduce you to him so you can tell him the story about climbing the mountain, because I think he would go, because you just nailed what his whole presentation was about in that short period of time. That, like, I don't know about you, Sammy, but like, I'm ready to go outside and just start working right now.
Let's go, baby.
I love it. Yeah, I agree. I got chills, and I'm wearing a sweatshirt. I got chills. Well, what this next question we have is a little bit of a scenario. So put yourself in this mindset. Here at the Live TPG show, we're collecting a time capsule. Remember, like the ones you had back in the day at school that you would put in. So we're building this time capsule, and we want to place a note in it from you that you're going to dig up 10 years later. What are you going, when we open this and you find your note, what is that note going to say?
That's a good one. That's a good one. My note would say, it would say two things. The first thing it would say is the road to success is always under construction. So the second thing that it would say is surround yourself with people that are better and smarter than you. The third thing that it would say, this could be a long letter, is there's nothing wrong with stopping and smelling the roses as long as you keep going. The fourth thing that it would say, I'll give you 5 of them, is what I just shared not too long ago. Success is just on the other side of fear. Matter of fact, I would probably put that at the top of that list. And then the fifth thing that it would say would be definitely be the author of your own story. Write your own script. You're the director of your own movie. And always maintain a no excuses, get it done mindset. Period.
I will tell you this. Go ahead, Greg.
Well, I was going to say, I'm going to go outside in about 15 minutes and I'm going to go dig a hole on McKinney Avenue in Uptown, Texas. I'm burying that letter.
Let's go.
I'm putting a marker down. And then in 10 years, we're going back. We're pulling that back up. We'll do this again and we're going to read them out again. That was fantastic.
And next time I'll tell you my donkey story. You'll get a kick out of that one.
Well, this is, I think, Sammy and I's favorite part of the show.
Yeah.
And I think I can speak for Sammy. This is going to be a hard one, right, Sammy?
Yes, it is.
So this is the part where we take of everything we've just talked about, Rock. We pick 3 things each and we share back to you that we learned, found valuable, or just really struck us. And you probably can't see this, but I have my legal pad is just full of just amazing things that you've shared.
I was going to say, this is the first time ever, and I've taken a lot of notes. I've never had to use the back sheet of a piece of paper as well. So yeah, that's a new record.
Wow.
Well, Sammy, who's going first, you or me?
Let's ping pong it. You go first.
Okay, I'll go first. Well, I'm going to start with something that you said earlier, Rock, that jumped out at me when you talked about your father. And you said, you know what? I think you said he had an 8th grade education, but he was the wisest man you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how you quoted him. And he said, no one owes you anything. Go out and get it. And I want to highlight that because that's a mindset that I think we all, every single day, need to remind ourselves that it's up to us. It goes back to what you just said, one of your 5 things. Be the author of your own book. Be the author of your own story. Don't expect other people to just give you anything. Now, live your life the right way and doors open. Take advantage of opportunities. Serve other people. Go out and get it. That can be an attitude you give towards giving love and service to other people. It incorporates every single aspect of what we talked about. And I got to admit, your dad is a very wise man. I love that quote.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So one of the things that I pulled away from this conversation, amongst all the many, there was a common thread, but it was one of the first things you said was that you were there. They said, Rock, you can't go to the best radio station. You go somewhere else and go learn the ropes. But you said, no, to be the best, you need to learn from the best. And it all comes with us creating those great relationships. And I love that because I think a lot of people settle to go and learn first because they don't think they're ready. Or you took it the other way. You didn't say I deserve to be at the best. You didn't say I want to be at the best. You said I'm going to the best so I can learn from the best. And I think that's an extremely powerful statement.
My second one is when you made the comment after you first went on the air at 2 a.m. in the morning and you went into the boss's office the next morning and he was critical, you told him, teach me how to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't get defensive. You didn't tell him you don't know what you're talking about. You used humility as a strength to say, help me get better. And that's a mindset, again, like I talked about earlier, that we all need to adopt more in our lives, whether it's just our relationships. Imagine if we took that mindset into the people in our lives and the little things that we do that may be causing friction, or maybe we're not showing up like we need to. Asking where our blind spots are and then saying, hey, help me get better. Help me learn how to be able to fix whatever this challenge I have is. Powerful. Love that.
The second one that I pulled was your legacy should be one where people can learn from you. Again, sticking with that common thread right there. That's what I pulled out the most, but not legacy of, what'd you say? The legacy on the wall, like the plaque on the wall. It's not about that. It's something where people can learn from you. I thought that was another great and powerful statement.
Hey, Sammy, Rock gave 5 answers to the time capsule question, and we're all about growth and pushing and going forward. Let's do 5. We can't stop at 3.
Let's do it.
So I love what you said. Knowledge is power unless you don't use that knowledge. And again, how often we find ourselves in circumstances, whether it's our government, our world leaders, our business leaders, or just people that surround us in our day-to-day lives, we all have this knowledge and we're all quick to want to impress people with what we think we know. Mm-hmm. What are we actually doing with what we know? Man, that when you said that really hit me.
Love it.
I think another one for me is don't allow people to write your story for you. And I think that's pretty powerful as well. It's hard to write your own story. It's hard to write a book. You know, every one of us on here has done it, and it's very hard. But how much better is it that you did it yourself? Your
Bingo.
voice.
Bingo.
Your voice. All right, Greg.
So I've got two more. Is that right?
You got
And I literally have about 10 that I can go to. I know the one I'm going to end on because it fires me up. It's going to go on my legal pad every morning. I'm going to share a simple one that I say it's simple, but it's maybe the most deep thing you talked about, Rock. Family comes first over everything. Just going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that.
Yep.
Well, and you mentioned this too, family and God. Those two things right there, first over everything.
That's your foundation.
One that was short, that it was impactful. It's actually something I've never heard anyone say before in the context of what you said.
Don't take my last one, Sammy.
Oh.
Well, this will fit right here. Don't panic.
Okay.
Don't panic.
That's a good one.
You said that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So don't panic, Greg. I think you're safe.
Yeah, it was really cool. I love that one too. Don't panic, because there's always going to be a door that opens. There's going to be another opportunity. But my final one that I'm going to end on is, I've never heard this said before. When you hear it's no, you can simply change those letters around, and it's no becomes it's on.
That's it. That's it. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah, man.
Come on, life. Come on, life.
Well, now I'm kind of panicking now, because that was a good one to end on.
That was good, right? That was a good one.
I think my last one right here is something that I'm gonna live right now. Get out of your own way, right? Just get out of your own way. So those are the 5. Those are the 10, the top 10. Again, record-breaking episode. We've never done a top 10 before. So
wow, made history, baby.
History.
No, I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you for this platform. You guys keep doing what you're doing, because you're blessing so many people's lives. And that's kind of where the service thing comes in. You know, however you can continue to be of service to people and add value. That's where it's at. That's where it's at. And you know, you're not selfish if you are doing the right things to help make you the best version of yourself. Because if you do that, you're going to help other people be the best versions of themselves. And, you know, don't make it difficult. I just tell people, don't make it so hard and difficult, because some people, I was in this category. I did so much for so many other people that I was forgetting about me. And I'm helping other people become millionaires, you know, and it's not about money, but it's about growth. And everything that all this energy I'm putting into other people, which is great. I'm going to always be a giver. But just imagine if you learn how to balance that out, and you can put some of that energy into yourself, because you got to invest into yourself. And when I say invest, it's not about money investment all the time. It's about the time. It's about the prayer. It's about the meditation. It's about the self-love. It's about those times when you're by yourself that I think Sammy was talking about, just finding out, how can I be the best version of me? And when you become that best version of you, you're going to be the best version to others, period.
Well, Rock, your enthusiasm is contagious. And I know people that are listening right now are going to want to know, hey, where can I go and learn more about ROCKTEEN? So share with us, where can people find you online? Where can they go to get the book?
Yes.
And just, hey, learn a little bit more about you. So this is your opportunity. Hey, plug what you're doing. We're also going to include this in the show notes. And when we publish this show, we'll include these links for people to be able to go and look at as well.
Absolutely, man. My main website is rockteeholla.com, ROCKTEEHOLLA.com. That's all of my social media platforms as well, at ROCKTEEHOLLA. The book is there. If you go to Instagram, I actually have a no excuses, get it done Instagram page. And pretty much what it is, it's just little tips that I've learned over my time on this planet Earth so far that teaches people how to take that leap of faith. And if you're interested in 10xing your life from the business perspective, you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to learn about how money works as a tool, how credit is so important when building a business, whatever, just little bitty things. No excuses, get it done. It is what it is. It's self-explanatory. So follow that Instagram page, follow at ROCKTEEN Holla. And if you want to get that book and learn how to conquer mental paralysis, No Excuses, Get It Done, is available. Amazon, anywhere you can buy a book, Barnes and Nobles is there. Thank you for your time, man. Anytime you need me, Greg, Sam, I'm here for you, my brothers.
Absolutely. And if you guys want to learn more about ROCKTEEN, learn more about Live TPG, the pursuit of growth, go to our website, www.livetpg.com. You can check out our blog, other shows like ours with ROCKTEEN, and purchase our book as well, The Pursuit of Growth. But with that, man, what an unbelievably fun, inspiring, awesome conversation. Rocky, thank you so much for joining us today, man. This was incredible.
You're very welcome, my brother. Anytime.
Love it. Well, Sammy, always good, bud.
Always good. I love it. Have a great night, guys.
Okay,
Peace.
be blessed.